Hey guys, it's Christina. This is Vox and Guest, and I am joined on a very early morning there by the beautiful, the delicious, the crimson colored and bookended by men, Jules and the Heist. Look at the faces we have here. Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hey guys. Morning. How are you?
Look at this. This is the most excited I've seen Braeden since I met him. I mean, really, like he's lit up after everything we've been through. You'd think it would take more than that, but no, this was it. This was our big moment of connection. Braeden just, the hat almost flew off. He was so excited. So it is so nice to have you guys here. I know it is very early there, about, 9:15 in the morning. So you look so prepared and fabulous for an early morning. So kudos on that.
We just start from the night before.
Yes, we do. There's a lot of effort.
You look okay, Jules, but yes. Al and Braeden are really bringing the heat visually. So I feel, I didn't want to say anything and be rude, but you look okay, Jules, but no, you look beautiful.
I even shaved for this morning.
Look at this. I won't ask you where. I will not ask you where you shaved. But okay. So, all right, listen, I know we don't know each other, and I'm not sure if you've seen the show, but I don't really take any prisoners on these questions. I start out hard, serious. And again, as I've said, I'm big on comfort level. So if any of this makes you uncomfortable, or if you get teary or whatever with this first question, let me know. Okay. But we got to grab people right from the beginning. All right. So are you ready?
Bracing myself.
Okay.
I think we're good. Yeah.
So can you fold a fitted sheet, or are you not a wizard?
I've tried many times. I'm definitely not a wizard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a roll it up into a ball, stick it in the corner of the cupboard with your foot kind of a thing, and just deal with it when you take it out.
Yeah.
All right. So you're a ball up and save it for later kind of guy, not a wizard.
Life is too short for this shit.
Okay, I hear that. You could have tried to fashion a wizard's hat out of the fitted sheet and see if it changed anything for you. But all right, ball it up. That's fine. That's totally fine. Jules may be Jules may be a wizard. I don't know. Jules, are you a wizard?
Yeah, no, my linen cupboard is overflowing and not very organised. I'm a very chaotic brained person, so I'm definitely more of a scrunch the fitted. It flattens when you put it on anyway. So literally, why put the effort in?
What's the point?
That's right. Why is it so high maintenance? I don't understand.
It's flat. It's fun.
Okay, Braeden, I fully believe here you might be a wizard. Maybe that's why you're no. I don't know.
I've had a go, but no, I'm no good.
Okay. We were so close. Okay, so what we know now is there are no wizards in Jules and the Heist. It is a wizard-free band. Okay. I'm going to give you a little linen pro tip here. If you take a pillowcase and you put the other pillowcase, the fitted sheet, and the top sheet from that set in the pillowcase, you don't have to fold anything, and it all comes out at once.
OMFG. I was today years old when I learned that.
See, because I haven't admitted it yet publicly on the show, but I am actually a fucking wizard. So that's why I have that information. Okay. All right. Actually, you know what? I've seen videos where people fold fitted sheets, and I save them all. I have them all bookmarked as an ADHD person does. I will never watch them. I know it's not going to work. I think it's all magic. So I'm glad that we're all in good non-fitted sheet folding company. So, all right, you guys, you feel okay after that? I know that was a heavy question.
Pretty heavy.
Okay. Good. I know. I'm sorry, Al. I know. So, all right, why don't we see? I've got him day drinking already. Okay, so why don't you guys each introduce yourselves and tell everybody what you do in the band?
Good morning, afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Al. I play guitar and try to write songs for Jules and the Heist, and do a little singing very badly. So I sing quite like this, so no one can hear me.
There you go. You're adding that husky whisper, though. You're the sex appeal of the band, Al.
No, I had COVID about 4 weeks ago, and I've had
I heard the cough. Yeah,
for the last couple of weeks. So
okay.
the husky thing, I'm trying it on. I don't think I like it.
Okay, there you go. Try from now on to just affect it. Don't keep getting sick so that you can do it more easily. You can learn to do that with your voice without getting infected with anything. But okay, so I'm glad you're feeling better, and at least you've kept your husky allure. But okay, Jules, are you handing it over to Braeden, or are you going to go next?
Go, Brad.
Oh, I'm Braeden. Hello, everyone. I'm the drummer. So I sit in the corner and groove along in the background. So I do sing, but I don't have a microphone.
Working on that.
The plight of many drummers. How many drummers are back there just singing their heart out behind their gobos, and nobody has any idea what's going on? It's just all bam, bam, bam. All right, so you sing to yourself.
Yeah. I have my moments where I'll bust out something, while we're playing, and I just get excited and have to bust the lyrics
Generally
out.
the third set, uncontrollable.
Normally the third set.
There's been a few beverages involved.
A few beers gone down by that stage.
Okay.
So.
No, I got that sense about you because you haven't stopped talking since we got on here. So I knew you were just going to bust out with something. You're just going to whatever. But okay, so you are a cornered animal just banging away at things.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I like it.
You summarized that well, Christina. Yeah.
Okay. All right, kiddo, it's up to you. Lay it on.
I'm Jules. So hi, everyone. So basically I started this band about a year ago. I'm the lead vocalist and sort of been in the trenches of the cover scene and thought this year, why not? Let's get into some original writing and hence why we're here. I do the lyric writing and work with Al on the original stuff.
Yeah. No, you guys are. You and I think, Jules, we first spoke a couple months ago, not too long after you had really started trying to get the word out about the originals and everything. And as a cover band girl myself, I understand that life transition can be a little bit tricky because when people are used to sitting there and listening to you play the same 45 songs that literally every other band in the world is playing in a bar somewhere, and then you're like, by the way, I wrote this one. And usually that is the moment when cover band artists pull out the original and you just watch the dance floor just get obliterated, right? Like everybody, like it's like roaches with the lights on, everybody scatters to their corner and you're like, shit. But I'm always so happy when people who are comfortable doing covers as you guys are decide to be brave about that and bust out into the originals world. And when you contacted me and I listened to it, I was like, okay, all right, I see why they wanted to do this, because these are, as we will be discussing today, 3 very different songs, but all insanely catchy in their way. But before we get into any of that, why don't we talk a little bit about how each of you got into music in the first place? And then how you all met, because I know Jules and Al, you have a band in common in history and all of that. But let's kind of talk about how did you guys get into music just as human beings before you even knew each other?
You've probably had the most projects, Braeden.
Me, I've always been into music. There's always music around the household when I was growing up, sort of thing. So I used to have a little toy guitar. That was I wanted to be a guitarist, but. Anyways, when I was about 12.
Not cool enough.
I wasn't cool enough. No, well.
There you go. That's right. You should have your stick and just throw it at him every time.
I'll come later, don't worry.
That happens every now and then. Yeah, I started playing drums when I was about 12. My mate lived around the corner from me and he was a drummer. And then I think I bought a drum kit when I was 13 and haven't looked back. So,
okay.
The last few years when COVID hit, and everyone had to isolate. I actually started in another band, just doing rock covers like Foo Fighters.
Okay.
More heavy rock sort of songs.
Sort of classic rock.
Some classics, some AC/DC, 70s.
I was going to say, if you're calling the Foo Fighters classic rock, Al, I'm going to hit you with his stick because let's not put them in that pile yet. But okay.
In addition,
to
1995, the Foo Fighters came out. That's 20 8 years ago. That is classic rock.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, Al. Shut it up right now. I will edit you out of this episode and put a horse in your place. We have the technology. Shut up.
Thank you.
All Foo Fighters formed 4 years ago. You cannot change my mind. Anyway, Braeden, as you were saying, go on.
So over the years I've played in a few bands, and I've ended up playing in this one. Well, me and Jules, we started jamming in After Sunset a few years ago, didn't we?
The last project.
Some other friends. I sort of towards the end of that, I started playing a bit of percussion for them. And then we started Jules and what was that? Jules Fusion, that's right.
Oh, yeah, we had a
Yeah.
So, we started that with a couple other guys. So that went for a year, just doing the covers. Just a few of us just having fun and, making a bit of cash there as well. So that was good. And then, started Alan come along, and it was like my lost brother that I never knew about.
Alan.
Brother from another mother.
I'm in trouble. I'm getting called Alan.
Alan. Yeah, you only get called Alan when you...
All right, Al, that seems a natural segue to go to you, my dear. So
you're leaning the wrong way.
I know. Half of Al. So Al's guitarist origin story, please.
All right. So it's actually quite sad. My dad had racehorses when we were kids. And one Christmas, we had 2 really good wins on the racehorses. So we had a great Christmas. There was shit everywhere.
Okay.
And one of the things I got was a guitar.
Okay.
And I was 5. And I got this little acoustic guitar. And I took it to Mum and I said, Mum, I'd really like to learn how to play this. And she said, don't be stupid. And so it died right there and then. And my sister went away to visit a friend in Perth when I was 17, so 12 years later.
Holy shit!
And, She came back with a guitar, and she wanted to learn how to play it. So we both started learning together when I was 17. But there's 12 lost years there of training that I don't have. So I could actually be good, but now I just have to sort of bluff my way through it and.
I mean, okay, I don't want to shit on your mom or anything, but like that's kind of a fucked up thing to do to a 5-year-old that's like passionate about me.
I know, right?
I mean, sorry, Al's mom, but like kind of a dick move. Now. Like I'll be okay. So she can't yell at me anyway. But no. I mean that's really so you because at first you were like it's a sad story, and then they're like racehorses and money just flying out from the ceiling and a guitar. I'm like maybe the Australian definition of sad is different from in America, but I'm like this sounds pretty good so far. And then that sucks. Not a fan of that. So and then in those years intervening, did you have any kind of music going on? Was there music in school, like a music class or anything?
I didn't really get into music in any way until about 1990. I was in year 10, so about 15.
Okay.
But before that, there was basically nothing. And then my sister came home. Like I said, my sister came home with a guitar, and there was a kid in my class who was learning guitar, so we started jamming together. He showed me a few things.
Okay.
And I was in year 12 at the time, which in Australia is the final year of high school, the most important year.
Yeah.
And so I was a massive procrastinator. I hated homework. I was a shit student. So I would send me to my bedroom to do homework, and I would sit there and play guitar.
Okay.
And so that's where I learned. And that was 92. So the year before, we had Pearl Jam, we had Nirvana, we had there's that list that stack of tape. Turns up.
Yes, I've seen that. They all came out in like the same. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. Amazing time to be coming up. Yeah.
So that was all exploding. And so because of bands like Nirvana, you didn't actually have to know a lot of technical stuff to be able to smack out a song and have it sound like a song.
That's right.
And so that was basically where I started. And by the time I was 20, I was in a band. They're all a little bit younger than me, but we sort of evolved together. It was pretty grungy. I used to make just a lot of noise. There was a lot of feedback, a lot of sonic sort of stuff, and that was cool. We did some pretty good things, and when that finished, I met Jules. And
now, was that in Ivory or was that pre-Ivory or what was the?
That was just a little bit before Ivory. So. I sort of had this little bachelor period where I was living in a house with another fella, and it was just debauchery all the time. We were enjoying ourselves. Lots of people would just come around every night. There was cards, there was drinking, there was other things, and a lot of musicians.
Okay.
And
Say no more.
They all went to school with Jules, so I hadn't met Jules, but we were playing guitar, like just
Okay.
you know, not 9 Inch Nails, Alice in Chains and Rage Against the Machine and that sort of stuff. We were just smashing that sort of stuff out all together. And then one of the guys, when I met Julie, he said like, "Oh, Julie's a really good singer and she wants to do some gigs." So we had this little 3-piece acoustic thing.
It's hilarious that he said I was a good singer. I'd sung about 3 times in my life at that point.
Well, maybe you said you wanted
She's
to
all right.
sing.
Yeah, I wanted to sing.
He goes, she looks good. She's got boobs. We'll put her up the front.
Yeah, that's really all you need is just boobs and hair and a microphone. That's it. You can just be like Janice from the Muppets. You don't have to know what you're doing. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
okay.
So that's where we met. And
so
that was about
you had met Jules and her boobs, and then you guys just started playing together. And
never met the boobs.
you're acquainted, but just yeah. Okay, I gotcha. Okay, so all right, so then Jules, he has set you up nicely for the 3-pointer here.
Handball.
All right, no worries. Well, mine, I guess every time I read bios, it seems like everyone goes, "Oh, I started playing when I was 5, and Mum and Dad, they were always me." And I'm the opposite. Like, I'm the black sheep of the family. My family's quite sporty, and I don't think I really sang. I think the first memory I have of singing, I was probably about 8 years old, and it was like a karaoke cassette or something. I think I sang Wind Beneath My Wings or something.
Okay, all right. But anyway, all right, I'm going to have to end the interview here now. No, sorry. So you mentioned Bette Midler, and it's like calling Beetlejuice. Like if you say her name one more time, we're going to have her here. So just be very careful here. Nobody else say the name. But okay, so
Hey McLaughlin, but you won't know who that was. Hey Mona. Yeah, but anyway. That's even worse. So fast forward from 8, that was like my first memory. I think I had a bad breakup when I was about 16.
Okay.
And I probably finished listening to Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill or something like that. Actually, must have been 1998. And I thought, man, I just really need to write some aggressive stuff just to process these emotions of my first real breakup.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd never really sung. And the first thing I wanted to do was write lyrics. So it wasn't so much about singing as about expression.
I got you.
And I looked up with Tyson, who was our mutual friend, and I said, "Hey, mate, you play guitar. I've got these lyrics. Can we sit down and have a jam?" And so we noted out a couple of original ideas, and then he played a cover. I think it was like Big Runga or something. And I just started singing spontaneously, no training or anything. And he's like, "Shit, you sound all right." And at the time, we had a friend that had a bar in a suburb called Narre Warren. And he said, "Oh, well, why don't you just come and do 6 songs?" I'm like, I think I could manage that. Went there with 6 songs. He's like, "Can you come back next week with 30? I'm like,
We played before. There was a guy already playing there, wasn't there? And so we just got up and did a little set first.
Segue.
Yeah, that's right.
A little
that's
introduction.
Right. Okay.
And I was so nervous.
We used his thing, didn't we?
Yeah. And I hadn't had any...
Wait. I beg your pardon. What thing was that of his that you used?
This big thing. No, it was a PA.
Okay.
So that's how it all started. Literally, like I didn't really sort of do the training or the, aspiring to. I just kind of jumped in the pool at the deep, and just started performing. And that's basically was my introduction to music, was just doing covers gigs with Al back then.
And then, and that became Ivory.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the singer from the band that I was in originally that was grungy came across.
Yeah,
and we had 2 singers and 1 guitar.
Yeah. Okay. And Jules, you play a little guitar, don't you?
I'll probably start this year, really. I can strum a few chords, move the capo around a bit.
As I said, you play a little guitar. That's a little guitar. That works. But yeah, because I have seen a couple photos of you with a guitar, and I was like, okay, either a prop or she's actually, But okay. So all right. So you
played the guitar during the gig twice.
Okay. There you go.
We took a lot of photos. So
okay. All right. So basically then what I'm getting is that you two, Braeden and Jules, you knew each other from one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Jules and Al, you knew each other from another thing. And then you all did a thing together, and that has now blossomed into Jules and the Heist. And I know that one of the things I thought was neat was that, you know, there are three of you that are core to the band, obviously, but what you also do is sometimes you are actually a four-piece, right? You will bring in a bass. Now, is this the same bass player all the time that we should be shouting out, or this is a floater that just kind of, okay, so you have people come in and out? And
that's right. I guess the thing is, as Elle said, we actually know a lot of musicians, so we're quite lucky in the fact that if we need to, depending, like we're actually going to the studio next weekend, and we've just got a session bass player. The guy in the film clip, if you watch it later, he's a drummer. He's a drummer.
He was just there. Like, we need somebody to do this. It was like, I'll do it.
Okay. Why not? Okay. All right. So yeah. So I mean, so that gives you guys a versatility then. That you know, because it's funny. I remember I've told this story I think before on this show that you know, we had our last band had done. We were doing a gig and the bass player was sick like 20 minutes before we were about to sound check, like not a chance to scramble anybody, whatever. And we sat there kind of going, okay, well, do we do it? Do we not do it? And the rhythm guitarist was like, do we really need a bass player? And I was like, what? Like, yes, of course. I mean, yeah, you can play a gig without a bass player, but like, you know, when you're in a band and you're playing certain songs, especially covers, you generally want to have a bass player there. They do make a difference. So, but I also understand when you guys are doing more of an acoustic thing, totally different vibe, right? Yeah. So, you know, and Braeden, you are not dragging your kit to those 3-person gigs, are you? Tell the folks at home what you are actually doing when you're playing with them.
Use my cajon when we do these gigs. I just got a new one this year, actually.
Okay.
A couple of months ago. So yeah, a mate of mine sort of put me onto it a few years ago. He's like, oh, have you tried a cajon out? I'm like, nah. So I didn't actually know what he was talking about. And then I was like, oh, yeah, they're cool. I've seen them around a fair bit, but I didn't actually know what they were. So
yeah.
Instead of dragging my congas and bongos, and I had a stomp box as well, which it was awesome. I loved it. It was great. Yeah. But yeah, the cajon's just so easy.
It really, yeah, it's much more manageable. Yeah. And I mean, for people I know, when I've seen people who really know what they're doing with it, it actually works quite well. I've seen the other thing too, where not so much, but yeah, no. So that, I mean, so when did you actually pick that up and start adopting that as a?
Yeah, so 3 years. I think I've had one for now. Would be just over 3 years, I reckon. So I just, at first I was sort of like, oh, okay, just trying to find where the noises were, you know, instead of, because I'm not using a stomp box anymore, I'm trying to get if I'm doing the floor or something, I'm trying to get it with both hands, which I really liked it. It was a bit of a challenge to start off with, but now I've worked out where I'm getting the sounds from and what's the best technique, and so I really enjoy playing it. It's great. You can get so many good sounds out of it, and
it's funny. I think of it almost as like the guitar version of an electronic drum kit.
Yes.
You know, because it's like you do have a range of sounds that you can, you know, put together that you would not have with an acoustic kit, right? But you're not schlepping around this gigantic. I mean, even the E-kits are pretty sizable. So I think it's very smart, and I think especially for the kinds of stuff that you guys are doing, the sound it's a really good fit, you know, so I was kind of like, okay, you are the first cajon, or at least the first one who's talked about playing it on the show. So I wanted to make sure we gave you your shout there, you know, and brought that in because it is a cool option. But so so you guys then, you know, once the three of you got together, and you know, obviously had been doing the covers and everything. When you decided you were going to start working on originals and actually putting them out, what was the thought process there? Was that mostly you, Jules, going, okay?
Not much process to it.
Not much.
A lot to a lot of things. It was the Bundy gig, I reckon.
It's been really, really organic. So Jules and I were camping for Australia. No, it was Labor Day, wasn't it? So in March we were camping. This is 2 years ago, and she'd just broken up with After Sunset, and she said, I don't want to lose my gig fitness. Would you come and play with me once a week? And I'd been out of playing for a little while, so I really wanted to, you know, start playing again and playing more. and we got together for a day and just did whatever came out of us, sort of thing. And then she said, "Oh, well, I'm going to get Braeden to come down and play drums with us because it'll be fun." And
it was literally just spawned from fun.
After the next practice, it was like, well, okay, I reckon we could do gigs with this. And so we just sort of let it go wherever it went. So there hasn't been a lot of decision making.
I think the originals came when we actually were given an opportunity to support Ella Hooper, who used to front Heidi in Australia. I'm not sure if you've heard of that band, but
I know the band via you, but no, not otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they had a song on the second Spider-Man soundtrack.
There you go.
It was quite big.
Yeah.
Wait, haven't there been like 11,322 Spider-Man movies in the last 20 years?
The second one with Tobey Maguire.
Okay, so like the one where he was kind of like the Chris Gaines project of like, you know, the dark Spider-Man one, that one where he was like, was it that one? Because I saw, the one, okay, yeah, then I think that was where my Spider-Man experience stopped, was like him coming out with dark hair and like a velour suit or something and dancing around, and I was like, I'm fucking done with this. So I will have to go check that out. I might have heard the song because those soundtracks were pretty ubiquitous. So,
but that's how the originals happened, because we basically got a gig, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't really want to do covers at this.
Yeah.
But we already had a few ideas that we were throwing around, and we were already playing some original songs at gigs. Like that first gig we did, we played 2 originals.
I forget these things.
So we've just jammed, and every now and again we come up with something, and we explore it when it happens. And we already had a handful of.
Well, yeah, and I mean that makes sense to me too, though, because since Jules has been working on lyrics for a long time, right? And you know, you guys are all musicians. If you have any sort of, you know, generally once you have lyrics and musicians together, you can come up with songs fairly easily, at least if everybody's remotely on the same musical page, which you guys clearly are. But I mean, it's how has it felt kind of leaving the nest of covers and putting yourself out there with originals? Because it's a different thing if you're covering Fleetwood Mac or Kylie Minogue or, you know, Foo Fighters or whatever, and it doesn't land. Well, it's like, okay, fine. But if it's your stuff, it's a lot more personal. So, I mean, you know, I know it's been organic and you've been going with the flow and all of that, but like when you first got out there and like, you know, on the big stage supporting Ella Hooper and we're like, okay, here we go. Was it like, oh, or were you like, oh fuck, or was it somewhere in the middle or both?
All of the above. All of the above.
Okay. Okay, that's going to be my new now. Thank you for that. But
you want to do it again?
Yes.
Oh, fuck.
There we go. I like it. By the way, Braeden.
Oh, sorry.
Dude, let other people talk, man.
I felt like just the nerves beforehand. I haven't felt like that since I was a teenager playing my first gig, you know. Like, and I thought that had gone away, the nerves, but no. That was a wake-up call doing the Ella Hooper gig. It was, and it was great. Just the appreciation we got for playing originals.
Yeah.
Well, it was
absolutely awesome.
It was sold out, so there was like nearly 200 people in this gorgeous community hall. And as you said, like you said, it normally clears the dance floor, but even as the support act, it was really great. We were debuting songs that people hadn't heard, and we had arms up in the air, and the interaction, the connection with the audience was just.
Actually, our first song we did was a cover. We played White Rabbit, and you should have seen the crowd come in. It was amazing. We sort of got them with that, and then hit them with the originals.
Smart, very smart. And that is a little bit of a that's a little bit of a show off to open with that one, because vocally that's not low hanging fruit. Instrumentally, that's not low hanging fruit. You know, Jefferson knew what they were doing.
All instrumentation into low hanging fruit.
That particular song, though, I had a lady come up to us at the end of the gig, thinking, because I thought, it's a bit obscure, this song, for a cover. It's not like mainstream. Yeah, okay. Well, for us anyway. This lady came up to us and she said, "Oh my God, I got goosebumps that first song." And she had this white rabbit tattoo, and she was just like looking at me in the eyes going, "Oh my God, I had goosebumps. That was just so amazing that you played that song." And then like Neo
and Morpheus from the Matrix came out, and like, you were like, "Fuck, what movie am I in right now?" That would weird me out.
Yeah, like, the blue pill.
Yeah, exactly. Which is the pill that does breakdown and loadout for us? Because I'll take that pill. That would be the one. But okay, so
we had an acoustic guitar and a cajon. There's nothing to load.
Yeah,
out.
that's true. Not so bad, but yeah, no, but I think that's very cool, Braeden, actually, that you got the nerves back for that, because even though that can be a little bit unsettling, I think it's the flip side of the adrenaline. And I bet the rush from doing the show once the nerves settled was better than anything you'd probably done in the last 10 years, right?
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, it was a big highlight. So it kind of puts you back in reality. Shit, you know? Like,
yeah.
It's not like we're just, we're used to just going to the pub and playing to people.
Right.
And we chuck our originals in, which is great. And I love that feeling. You get 1 out of 100 people that come up and they're like, that original was awesome. Like, and I get a kick out of that rather than the 100 people that were dancing along to the covers all night, like.
Absolutely. Yeah, it means a lot more, because then it's just, hey, you did this thing that somebody else made really well and I liked it, versus like, wow, this is something you guys did and I did. That's a wonderful feeling. And I'm so glad you articulated that, actually, because, the people watching right now are all, mostly all in the indie community, and they know that feeling of like, you're not expecting to get 50,000 people listening on Spotify. Like, you're happy if it's 50 people, right? But it's like, if somebody actually comes in and says, hey, like the third song on that EP that you did was amazing, and it, and here's what I loved about it, that is like a buffet of payoff for an indie musician for ages. They could live on that forever. So I totally, and I mean, to have that amplified by hundreds of people, that you guys are looking out into the crowd and seeing this sea of people digging it. And I mean, I love that you had that too, because a pub, a bar, whatever, it's a different animal. It's kind of like they're there. Sometimes they come to see you. Sometimes they just come to get a drink and you happen to be there and they'll either enjoy you or not or whatever. Like a show like that where people are intentionally coming to listen to music, you have an opportunity to either wow them or not. Right. Yeah. And so to do that with your originals, I can completely, I know how that would feel really, really good. So, I mean, so at that point, was it kind of like, we've injected this directly into our veins and now we must do this all the time, or like
a bit addicted to it now?
It did,
okay.
For sure.
Definitely made a difference, didn't it?
That connection, and that, again, that's what feeds me. I love connecting with people. As I said, it's a two-part thing. It's for myself to obviously heal, connect, express. Mm-hmm. But when anyone connects with that, it's just a beautiful thing, isn't it, really?
Yeah, no, well, and I think that is a universal for musicians. Whatever version of succeeding you do as a musician, whether it's, financial, or if it's just people loving your stuff, or, getting to change somebody through your music or whatever, it's about connection. So I totally understand that. I think because, we have a core group that watches every single show, and I'm sure by now I have made a bet with everyone that I will sneak the song in under a half-hour mark, because the first couple episodes that we did of this show, I think one of the episodes we had talked for like 2 hours, and I was like, oh, by the way, I should probably play the song. So since then, I make a concerted effort. But I wanted to, before we got into the music specifically and talk more about the story of the band and your background, Jules, and putting the band together and everything else, why don't we give the people a treat? Let them hear you guys a little bit. So we're going to play Escape the Pain. Do you guys want to say just a little something before we roll that video, and then we can come back and pick up on it more?
It's probably the darkest one of our three that we've put out so far. It's as we said, they're all different songs, and but this one, we really got enjoyment out of this, and doing the film clip was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Great experience. Yeah. And that was like ripping off a Band-Aid for me too. I was probably pretty nervous to be in front of a camera.
Yeah.
The videographer made us feel really comfortable. Izzy Brandsma, legend.
Yeah.
And the book, this was actually inspired by reading the book by Gabriel Maté about ADHD, mental health illness.
A favorite of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think it was a really good way to convey that, that if you are feeling dark, it's absolutely okay, because most people have some sort of level of pain or grief, and we deal with it in different ways, and hopefully you can find a healthy way to deal with it. But that you're not alone. Everyone feels this.
I don't think we could intro this song any better than that. So, guys, again, I've said this a couple times before on this show. You're going to hear this song. This is not all Jules and the Heist does. This is one flavor among many in the arsenal. But why don't you just, chill out, sit back, and enjoy Escape the Pain by Jules and the Heist.
Like a Chinese bird in the brain, so close to going insane. Remind me how it feels to be contained. It's been so long, I think I forget. Is it any wonder we try to escape? Or why we seek to another pain? Is it any wonder we try to escape? Why we seek to another pain? It's a no-brainer, I'm only human. Can't stand in a building while it turns to ruin. From the flames you would run, beg for your life, held by a gun. Is it any wonder we try to escape? Why we seek to another pain? Is it any wonder we try to escape? Why we
So I have to say, listening to your songs, and again, I know there are 3 that you have out, so it's not a huge catalog yet, but given that you've just started working on the originals, within the year and everything else, I think you're doing just fine there. I get such a Pretenders Chrissy Hind vibe from you.
Wow.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, it's definitely vocally, but also just instrumentally. There's that kind of, especially with this one, you've got that plaintive guitar at the beginning, and everything is very kind of quiet and calm. And then I was like, okay, is it going to stay this way? Because I would have been totally fine and happy with that. But then you obviously blow it open, and at that point, that was when I really started to get that Pretenders vibe. And I always tell people this, on the show, when I make comparisons, it's always favorable, first of all. And secondly, it's not to say that what you're doing is derivative of that band or those musicians. It's just like, those are the connections musically that I'm making while I'm listening. And I think you could do a hell of a lot worse than somebody comparing you in any way to the Pretenders. So I hope that's been taken as the good thing that I intended it to. But so this song, I mean, the lyrics are really intimate. They're really personal. And it's funny because, as you said, they're both personal, but they're also universal. So I gather, Jules, that in writing this, you were marshaling personal history a bit. And again, they know I always check in with everybody before I do these interviews and make sure that questions that might come up are okay with the band. But you are pretty public about it, on your website and everything. The story, behind your musical journey and then the hiatus of your musical journey. So I don't know if this is a good place to get into that, because again, this community, big into mental health, big into support, big into, all of that. But lyrically, does this Escape the Pain, is it connected to your history, or is this, am I in the wrong place here?
Basically, this song for me, I suffer from PTSD. And I think I was reading a book and trying to understand, and I guess anyone that suffered from PTSD, it's not a linear recovery.
No.
So as you sort of work through your shit and your triggers and all of those things, I think it's just a matter of, I just sort of channeled it when Elle started playing the music. I sort of deep dive into some of those feelings. And I mean, the opening lyric, like a Chinese burn in the brain, sometimes it's so painful. And I have quite a lot of people wouldn't understand when they see me on stage, they see me with the makeup, and I'm happy-go-lucky, and I'm a good, very social, outgoing person. And I think it was really paramount for me to shed a light on, that's what you see, but there's a darker side that people don't see. And I think it was really important that I shed that light on, that I'm not always this up. And I guess with socials, Instagram, Facebook, so many people show a certain version of themselves.
That's right.
Anybody that suffers looks at these people and go, oh my God, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not that. So I think just to highlight that I too have dark times, it was really important for me to vocalize and share with people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's very well said, because I mean, that social media is, it's a cherry-picked version of everybody's life, right? It's like people, whether it's a personal page where they're like, oh, look at my family and my X number of beautiful children, and we're all wearing matching clothing, standing in front of this Christmas tree, whatever. And then you just know, if you've ever met a child ever, that like 3 minutes before that picture taken was like, shut up and stand there and look at the kid, but you don't show that picture, right? You show the, where everybody's looking at the camera. And so from that standpoint, it can be really alienating. But then even as a band, even as a performer, it's the same thing. There are a lot of people on social media only talking about their wins, and that's fine, but like, I'm a big fan of also like, hey, you know what? I tried this thing. This sucked. Hey, I did this gig. Nobody came. Like I did, and that I think is where you really do connect with people, because if you're pretending like everything's great, the people you're connecting with are either insanely lucky and everything is actually great for them, or you're connecting with their avatar too, right? It's not real. When you're being yourself and you're like, this fucking sucked and whatever, and people are like, oh my God, that's the real stuff. So I love that you put that out there. And I mean, even not knowing anything about your background, as you said before we played the song, I don't think there's a person alive that can't relate the message of the lyrics, you know, I mean, because everybody does grieve and everybody does have losses and feel alone and need help and not necessarily find the light in the room sometimes. So, I mean, was this song written just very recently? Were these lyrics that you had from a while ago, or what, you know, what was the...
No, it was pretty spontaneous. This one sort of came pretty easy, didn't it? I think
I just started mucking around with that verse, sort of picky bit. And I think I was doing something. I was looking at the wall or something. Like, was that over there? And I just said, "Oh, that's interesting." And Jules said, "Yeah, I keep playing that." And then you just sort of started writing those lyrics, didn't you?
And sometimes you can labour a long time on a song, and other songs just come. And this is one of those songs that just came quite easily. And I think it was because I was being authentic. You know, I wasn't sort of going, "I'm writing it for this," but I was just writing it from my heart, from my genuine feelings. And the light and shade of it, I think, is really paramount as well. And I think also, too, musically, coming into music, there's lots of ways I've dealt with depression in non-healthy ways, you know, drugs, alcohol, sex, drugs, partying, whatever. And I think music is such a healthy thing to hold on to. It's almost like my religion, if you know what I mean. These guys, being in this group and having these guys next to me on this journey, this is sort of my healthy escape now. This is what I cling to rather than going down the darker path. I've sort of got something now that can really pull me out. And, you know, these weekly rehearsals and these gigs, it's just such a good routine for me. Well,
and what I also get too is that you guys are all very comfortable together. And I think that, you know, it's easier to be authentic and vulnerable when you're with people that you trust. You know, and so that I think is it's a testament to the closeness that the three of you have, because you might have been sitting with a completely different guitarist and he could have or she could have played the exact same riff and it would not have opened you up the way that it did. So, I mean, I think that's one of the other beautiful things about music, right? Is you connect with people outward with your stuff, but you also, in the ideal situation, you're connecting across with the people in the band with you. And then there's that magic that happens, right? Where you're all in it on stage. And I don't think that's at least as good as great sex, I would say. Like that thing where you probably not better. I don't want to go that far, but I mean, it's right up there at least. So, I mean, and then Braeden, at what point did you come in on this song?
Me? Really? I don't know. Like I said, I just sit in the corner there and I said, "What do you want me to do?" They're like, "Oh,
no,
do this."
He's underplaying himself. He has a much bigger impact on this whole project than he is actually.
We came. It started at the end of a jam. So I think Braeden was either leaving or he'd left when we started doing it.
Okay.
And then the next week, because we pretty much had the whole thing. It wasn't quite ironed out, but we had all the pieces in that first night, and we just needed to go away and refine what we were doing. And so the next practice, we sort of smashed it out, and that's when you came in. Would have been the next week where we're like, okay, we did this at the end of the last practice.
Gotcha.
What are you going to do with this?
We have ideas, and then we sort of play with that idea, and that's like, oh, hang on, structure it a bit, and then give that to me. I'll work something out from there, and off we go.
Well, I was especially curious about the structure for this song because more than the other two, there's a very conscious choice to begin without big sound and drums and everything going on. And so, you know, again, there are songs that could have stayed just as the intro is all the way through. You know, there are plenty of great songs like that. But the fact that you guys began in one place and then opened it up from there, I was wondering if that was more of a drummer percussionist suggestion or if that where that came from, because it does make the song pop in a different way because you're kind of lulled in at the beginning and then all of a sudden there's this much bigger sound that comes after the first verse. So was that you? Was that all of you? How did that come to be?
Well, it's me and Al get pretty excited. Even when we're playing acoustic, we get pretty excited. And that energy just bursts out of us, you know.
Gotcha.
And I think it follows the emotional journey of the song, though. I think I think this song really entwines with that fragility and that vulnerability, as you said. So it's sort of reflective to begin with, and then sometimes that anger and frustration and those wave of emotions that come when dealing with such a serious topic. So I think the music amplifies that sort of chaotic feeling. you know.
And like that little intricate picking bit at the start.
Yeah.
There's no way I was going to play that for a whole song. I get too bored. I need to jump around and like play.
I feel like that's it. I got like a minute 40 into that. I'd shot my wad. We were going to chorus.
So, you know, it's just, that was never going to happen for us.
No, I know what you said, Al. You said, "Oh, fuck." Yeah.
Fuck this shit. Let's go.
There you go. That, by the way, is going to very absolutely be the title of your 4th song on Spotify. I'm just letting you know right now is fuck. That's going to be the, yeah. But I mean, so Jules, you know, we started talking about it a little bit, but you had a long time away from music. I mean, you were off for like a decade, right?
Yeah, well over 10 years. I think I had my daughter in 2007 and I just did not sing after that. Unfortunately, the father of my children hasn't sort of been involved in their lives. It was a pretty toxic sort of relationship, and that sort of scarred me emotionally, and it took a long time to recover. And of course, I was being a single mum, working full time, paying bills, and all that.
So you had tons of free time to do whatever you wanted with your music. Absolutely, yeah.
But also, too, I actually couldn't sing, and I think I really would like to share this story, but I was actually suffering so much from that toxic environment that I wanted to sing and I still had the passion for singing. But when I went to sing, I actually physically almost got like a severe physical reaction. Like, so I'd go to sing and almost felt like I was being choked. It was like severe stage fright. But this wouldn't be just on stage. It would be in my car, it'd be around friends or family. I just actually couldn't get myself to sing. And I'd already been being paid to sing for years prior to this. So I knew I had the skill set. Right. But psychologically, I was broken.
Yeah.
So I actually paid quite a lot of money, believe it or not, for a hypnotherapy session. One session, and the guy said, you know, I can fix this. And I said, yeah, right. And he's like, seriously, not like 10 sessions, keep paying every week. One fee. If it doesn't work, I'll refund your money. And I went into this session and it sort of put me under. And I came to, and I thought I'd been sort of under hypnosis for about 10 minutes, but it was a good 45 minutes. And he goes, sing something. And I'm like, okay. And I remember just coming out and singing Eva Cassidy, Way Over Yonder. I have no idea where that song came from or why.
Okay.
And I've been happily and freely singing ever since then. So it was quite an epic shift. And then it was just a matter of finding somebody to sing with, because again, I don't play an instrument. So
yeah. Wow. Okay. That's a pretty
get back to this point.
Yeah. I mean that, you know, that I think, I mean, that makes sense to me too, because I know that during really difficult times in my life, I tended to not even want to listen to music. And I never understood that for a long time. And then like years into therapy, just kind of, you know, one day putting the music back on and starting to sing again or whatever, I think, at least for me, and I wonder if it was for you, when music is in your bones like that, you are emotionally open when you're musical, whether you're singing it, listening to it, playing it, whatever, like that opens you up. And if you've been hurt that badly and you're protecting yourself that much, it's almost like I cannot open that door. Like there's too much behind it. So I love that you were able to get back from that. I mean, that's a really big deal, because you know, a lot of us took off time just to have our kids and we're away from music, whatever. I get that. I did that too. But it's like, you know, you didn't even have it to yourself, you know, in your car, in the shower, whatever. And I mean, that's I'm happy for you, and I'm proud of you that you faced that, because that's a, you know, that's a lot to process very quickly. And kudos to the fucking hypnotherapist, because like I thought that was complete. It was crazy. Personally, like I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean that worked though. That's tremendous. Which like okay, you know, you never
said that opening up. I think now like that breathing, and especially in Escape the Pain, when you hit those big notes and you sort of really like the lungs come into air. It's a physical experience. Yeah. For me, it's not so much a technical one, but it's a grounding, and yeah. So and now I just absolutely adore it. You know? Well,
and you say, yeah, you say it a lot that, you know, in different ways, that, you know, part of what your music does for you is it's healing. So, absolutely. I mean, you know, that's a little bit of a cycle, a good cycle, right? That, you know, you found your music again, you were able to sing, which, you know, makes you happy, and then it heals you and all of that. So, I mean, I think it's a lot to have sorted out in a couple of years. You know, I mean, that's, you know, and I think it's, I'm just happy that the three of you came together too, because as I said, I think you have a you have a safe place to do all of this in. It's that's critical. So I mean, for Alan, for Braeden, you guys, like, I mean, by the time you came back into it with Jules, obviously she was already kind of on that path to healing and coming back to herself and her music and everything. But I mean, like, do you notice over the last couple of years a shift too, with all of you, with her, just in general? Like, do you feel like?
Yeah. Well, I've noticed a massive difference in Jules, even from that back in After Sunset. Jules was more of well, you were still doing both, but more backup sort of in a way. Whereas now she's the front woman, and
Never understood it.
And well, I've always thought that the last few years, I'm like, geez, I'd love to have like a front woman singer, just a different. I've always played with sort of more males,
Gotcha.
in the band. And now the way we just rock it out. We've got her doing Killing the Name with us, Like she last time we played it, she was like, "What, man?" I was like, "Yeah, we're doing it." She was like, "What?" And I said, "No, it's all right. I'll just, and we smashed it. We got it out. And just to watch her grow over the last few years to what she is now, that confident woman on stage, and I watch Jules, and I have my mum. I just stare, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And then I get right into it, like,
yeah,
no, and it sounds so good, and yeah, and then especially with Al as well, just Al's confidence over the last 18 months, and that.
We've all grown in the last 12 months. We just continue to grow, and I think that's the thing. We sort of encourage each other. It's about having fun, and obviously, the byproduct of that is that we're just getting better at our craft all the time naturally because we're having fun doing it. It's not a chore to get in the jam space, to get in that rehearsals, or even the gigs. They're not really a chore. I think you mentioned 40 cover songs. I think we've already got like 160, 200 or something.
Yeah.
And we just change them because I think keeping it fresh and that's spontaneous.
Spontaneous. I don't even know the song. Like, we're going to play this one. I'm like,
okay,
yeah, all right.
Apparently we are. Okay, so you're also you're fucking with Braeden a little bit too. I appreciate that. Okay. So what about you, Al? Have you blossomed into a beautiful little rose as well?
Oh, definitely no roses here unless they're dead ones. I
have
said
significantly
earlier. Yeah, like I said earlier. So I'd been away from playing consistently for a long time. So the band I was in back in the day, we started as a covers band, same as this, and so we built up that repertoire, and then we started introducing the originals. So I've been on this journey before, and I hadn't really put that together until you asked that question earlier. But you lose. It's all in there. You've got the muscle memory, but you just kind of lose your chops a little bit and your confidence. So that's why I wanted to come back into this. And so it's amazing it took me probably 6 months to get back to where I was, and now because of what we're doing, I'm actually, and I'm a bit older. I'm deep diving more into things and trying to improve technique and all that sort of stuff. So it's been, I've been quite impressed with some of the things that my fingers have done. It's been good.
No, that I love that. You guys are all growing each other. That's very cool. And then it comes together, obviously. So the band is it's interesting though, because your band started basically when you guys started musically again, and not just together, but kind of, the originals are new. The band, the three of you being an originals band is new. What you're doing versus who you were even in your former musical lives is new. And so, I think that there's a lot that's exciting in that, and especially for people coming in on you guys at the ground floor, like everybody is, as an originals band. And I thought the fact that each of the 3 songs that you do have on Spotify are so different from each other, was kind of a nifty little hook in a way, because, Escape the Pain, more rock power ballad kind of thing, and then you're on Here and Now, which is kind of like a pop reggae. I'm sorry?
like a roots reggae kind of feel. Yeah.
Oh, for some reason I thought you said Enya, and I was like, no. Like I don't think I've ever heard Enya do anything like, maybe after Enya eats like Jamaican food or something, but like no, I didn't. But okay, yeah. So no, yeah, and then Down for It. I mean, alt pop, but also a tiny bit of pop country. Like there's a lot.
It was accidental, but there's definitely elements of country that I hear now, and that was not purposely injected into that at all.
Yeah.
But it sits really well amongst like country artists, like country rock artists. So that surprised us.
when we that was the first song we put on Spotify, and you play a song and then Spotify links it up with other songs that are similar or whatever.
Right.
And I'm in the car, listen to that one, and then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, that's pretty country, right? Yep. Next song, wow, that's country as fuck. Okay, right. It was very interesting.
Yeah,
I love when Spotify, it's kind of like when you keep taking a CAPTCHA test online and you keep failing it and you discover accidentally that you're actually a robot. Like I love that Spotify is like, you didn't know you were a country artist, but you are, because this is the playlist that we put you. So I'm listening to that song and I'm going, okay, I'm still hearing Pretenders, but I'm also hearing Shania Twain like in the vocals, and I'm like, what did they mean to do that? Like, was that and that song particularly lyrically, I don't know if it's about you guys, but it seems like it is. This kind of partners in crime.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I think it was Spawn. I've got a friend, Tanika, and we do some crazy shit sometimes. And I just remember we did a gig at the local pub down here, the Hood, and then it was
not us, someone else.
A hot night, and we're like, I was pretty excited after the gig, had a few drinks. Right, let's go skinny dipping down the Hood. And so straight away, she's just down for it. And I think it's just that kind of, those mates that you can have crazy wild ideas and they'll never go shock horror. They'll just go, yeah, cool, I'm there with you. I'm right by your side. And and I just love that whole energy of having those reliable friends with you that are just down for it. And it doesn't matter where you're going. Like they're just up for it.
The people who, when you say something really stupid, they say, here, hold my beer.
That's a great idea.
Right, exactly. That's what I was thinking too, Al. It's like those are the ones who are in the back of the cop car with you. Like, maybe we shouldn't have done.
Laughing all the way. Yeah.
No, it's that song works too because not that it's a summer song. It's not one of the, but like it's got that emotional feel to it of just like, what, fuck it, let's go do whatever the hell we want. I know you're down for it. Like, let's just go and get into some good trouble and whatever. And I think that, I could see people, driving along in their car, blasting that just off to do God knows what, but then what a different song from Escape the Pain. I mean, like if you had tried to write two more different songs, I don't know that you could have done it. Like, I mean, that's pretty, because the one is so about processing all of these deep, dark, difficult emotions and kind of being raw about your pain and your grief and, the idea that you want to numb yourself and all of this. And then the other one is, let's go skinny dipping down the Hood. I mean, it's like, but I think it's a wise choice for you guys as a band, because whichever of your songs, if somebody only picked one out, like, or one showed up on a playlist when somebody was listening, whichever one of the three they heard, they would have no idea what the other two were like none. And I think that's cool because it's, it could be a little schizophrenic and not work, but it does. And I think one of the reasons, but I mean, one of the reasons that it worked for me was because, I mean, obviously, Jules, your voice is kind of a through line, obviously. And you like to do your backings, you like to do your harmonies, you have all that stuff going in there. So you see those elements, in each song, but even the swag that you have from song to song is very different, so Escape the Pain is obviously much more heartfelt, starts out quieter, gets into these bigger notes, almost like a cry or like a longing, that kind of a thing. And then, then all of a sudden you're, hey, on Here and Now. And we're like, okay, you know what I mean?
That's the thing. I feel so much. And that's why music helps me process, because I just am a person that feels a lot of emotion. If Elle came here with a sad story and was giving me, I just pull into that, and I will
Yeah.
be one of, a person crying with him. So each
Yeah.
song, I sort of try to be in the moment of that emotion, and that's where they stem from. So
That's where the next song that we're going to record, and probably shouldn't talk about things that haven't happened yet, but
No, you could talk about it. That's okay. Go ahead.
someone was telling us a really sad story about their life, basically. And while that was happening, I was playing a little noodly bit. And as soon as they sort of stopped telling us what was going on and left, Jules just looked at me and I looked at Jules, and she said, keep playing that. And we were so on the same page. It was like we'd been looking at each other sideways while we were getting this story. And we'd started writing it while we were listening. And by the next practice, we pretty much had a complete song. And yeah, it's sort of become our new favorite song, and it's completely different again.
Yeah.
Okay.
and I love it.
Yeah.
But it's
You
that
know,
challenge.
being a musician is so weird sometimes, though, because I was talking to the guys from Trick Shot recently, and they were telling a story, similar thing about, overhearing a friend who was having this really intense, difficult phone conversation, with somebody breaking up with their partner, and the way that she was saying what she was saying to break up with the person was very lyrical. And so in the middle of being deeply concerned about this person, there was also like, wait, say that again. So it's like a weird thing, because you do care about, I was giggling a little bit to myself, because it's like, this person's there sitting, telling this sad story, and you guys are like, that would sound good in D, let me score your pain here. Hold on. Like, do you feel like when emotionally that you were more being hit with like a maraca here, or so I know what you mean. I'm sure you were also being very attentive and empathic, but like there is something about that where you find music and inspiration in the weirdest places, But so you say it's very different. I'm going to assume you don't want to give me any color on that genre, anything like that, when, or at least when it'll be out, maybe.
Isn't it?
A little bit
It's kind of country too. Like, none of us are country. It was anyone cut. No, just this. I don't know. This country vibe, sort of a little bit coming out of it. But
It's
okay.
It's probably more straight than if you were to look at the three that are out. You got a rock, pop, and a power ballad and a reggae. This is kind of more just in the middle. It's pretty straight.
It's very easy to listen to.
It's not poppy. So it's like a pop song, but it's not poppy.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fancy. That's dull as fuck. Oh my god, it's like
Pop song that's not poppy.
Yeah, I was like, okay, it's musical, but it doesn't have music in it.
It's just straight. It's boring as fuck. Don't worry about it.
Oh fuck, we don't know what to call it, but okay, all right. So, but I think I know what you mean. Where even though you can't seem to define what it is, it's that. Well, that's it. That kind of makes it what it is. It's not. It doesn't fit neatly into any of the categories of what you've done, but it's also not specifically any one thing. So, okay. So, when will we be hearing that song? Do we know?
It's getting recorded this weekend. Not this weekend. Next weekend. We've actually got 2 more songs to record.
Okay.
The other one's like an LGBTQ banger, like a rock banger.
Excellent.
Which
Okay.
is going to be so fun. And it's sort of, we've got 2 songs, one sort of dark and serious, and then the other one's just
Bang.
got some balls about it.
Celebration of love and life.
Yeah. Healthy love.
We learnt a lot releasing the last 3 songs. We weren't really
prepared
emotionally or mentally or.
But now we've learned.
So we probably won't be banging them out too quickly. We're going to record them. We're going to have a listen, see what we've got. We might try and neaten up the first 3 just with a few little tweaks, because they were. Okay. Yeah, we might try and squeeze in another song, and then I haven't really said this out loud, but maybe a 6-track EP in the next few months.
Okay.
So we've actually got a package rather than just random songs.
Right. Okay, so you might do these 3 and another 3 and then put them together on an EP.
Yeah.
Okay. No. When you say you learned a lot putting these 3 out, I know you said emotionally and all of that, but like what? Like what surprised you? What did you learn? What was the because I mean, I know you go into the studio on anything, and if you've not done it, it's like you don't think about all of the elements. There are a lot of moving parts and all that.
You're loose and you go off a vibe. I mean, just to sort of be regimented, but to still stick to the emotion.
Yeah.
Even though you're on that click, to sort of still find the flow.
Yeah.
Within those boundaries. Does that make
I think. But were you talking more about the releasing process?
No, I'm talking about whatever you're talking about. You know, I'm just because those are the kinds of questions that interest me, because again, having been a live stage musician, having been a studio musician, I know those are two very different kinds of music. It's very, very different. And when you take songs that you're used to doing in one environment and do them in another, that's almost the biggest mind fuck, because you're like, wait, we can't just sort of, and now we're going to jam on this for a little while. No, it's like, you have to get this done this way. Here's your click. Here's what you have to, and you know, and to, as you said, to keep that from sounding rehearsed, robotic, formulaic, flat, you know, oh my God, how many times do we have to do this or whatever? That's no joke. So when you said, you know, I love that kind of thing when people are like, oh, we learned a lot. And a lot of people will gloss over that. And I'm like, wait, back up. What did we learn? Like, so tell me what you meant. I wasn't asking for more detail on that.
We went in to record because we hadn't recorded.
Right.
And then
we just wanted the experience.
We smashed out 3 songs in 2 days. So it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then essentially we had a demo tape, and then we were like, fuck it, let's put it on Spotify. So then we had to, you know, we probably rushed that a little.
Okay. Yeah.
That's just how I roll.
Yeah, she did. But we were there. We all agreed. So, and then to actually get the songs to an acceptable level with mastering and things like that, and then to put them onto Spotify, the process of putting them on Spotify, having them not just get lost in the ether and all that sort of stuff,
which is so easy to do. Yeah. The getting lost part, not the getting it to be recognized. There's so much new music that comes out every single day, so it's really difficult.
So we probably, and Jules did all of this pretty much. So we probably, you know, missed a step here or there, or we did this and we should have done this first. That's what I'm talking about. Just the process. Okay.
Yeah.
The next time we bring something out, let's have the package right first, and then let's do the steps properly so that it can be
there's
an easier process.
Plenty of pre-release plans and so forth out there, but when you look at it, it's like 3 pages of so many items, and I just sort of like looked at the main ones and thought, I'll do this and this, and I probably stepped missed about 5 steps in between. 5
through to 18, we don't need those.
No, I'll just put that one and that one.
Just average them out. Braeden, it looked like you had something you were going to say.
Well, yeah, and saying about like this, one of the songs that we're going to record next week, we actually did record some drum tracks for it last time we recorded.
Okay.
We're looking into it. And we've changed a few things, haven't we?
Yeah,
just very basically changed a few things around. And now we're pretty much set on what the song's going to be. So,
Well, when you're involving a producer too, you sort of, I think because I'm so new to this whole original stuff, I was probably pretty reliant on the producer going, what do you think, what do you think? But now, I think we're getting to know ourselves more.
Yeah.
So we're taking a bit more of the direction.
Absolutely, because I think initially you don't want to get it wrong. And a lot of times, I remember the first time going in with a producer and sitting down and going like, wait, there's all this what I have to know, and you want answers to what now? And it's like, you don't even know what you need to know, never mind have an answer for all of that. So it is very easy, and it's funny, when I talked to Shannon Darcy, she was like, yeah, I went in and I recorded with this producer and he kind of, did it this way. And I was like, wow, that's really good. And then got in the car and was like, this isn't the song I wanted to make, and I think sometimes you can only learn that by having done it the way you guys did it, where it's like, and now you go, oh, you know what? Now that I know that I could have done something different here, this is what I would do instead. So I don't know that too many people who go in and record for the first time don't have that experience. I don't think anybody walks out and just goes, this is exactly the song or exactly the EP that I intended to put out. Like I don't think that happens, because there is so much.
And building that rapport with the producers and them understanding your capabilities and you understanding their capabilities.
Right.
Yeah, but it was a really enjoyable experience. So I have to admit, Sean, our producer, he was just really open and encouraging, and I kind of need that. He was really
we kind of got we gave him the vibe that we're a bunch of amateurs going to come in and record, and I sort of set the kid up, and I just he goes, oh, we'll go through the first song, we'll just make sure the sound's all good. I just I remember looking at him in his face, and he was like surprised. He's like, I think these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So,
Yeah.
that was cool. That was
Did you guys ever see that movie Once? It's a great movie if you haven't seen it. It's about a busker and a woman that he ends up, making music with. And there's a similar scene in that where there's just this ragtag group of musicians. They've kind of collected each other and they scrounge together the money. They go in the studio, and the guy sitting at the desk is basically like, all right, let me just autopilot here. And I think he's even sitting there like reading a book. And then they start playing the song, and he's kind of like, oh, and then all of a sudden he gets into it, and when you said that, I was kind of like, I love those moments where if you can surprise a producer, you're doing something right because they've heard so much music.
Pretty emotional. Yeah.
Track one, first drum take that we did was absolutely bang on the click, and he was like, okay, so we can play to a click, right? Okay, let's go.
Not as easy as people think. It really is not.
No, it's not.
I recorded the vocals to, I think, Here and Now and Down for it first, and Escape the Pain was last. And I really feel it was like, by the third song, we're like, this is what I have to do. And I remember sort of singing vocals, and I think Elle and I had a moment. I don't think Braeden was there.
No.
And just the emotion that came through in one of the takes, like even the producers going,
the one that's on there.
Yeah, he's like, fuck, that's what I'm talking about. Go, Jules. Like, and he was always like coaching me, like, yes, you're getting it. And really, and I think after I actually took the vocal take, even myself, I was like, there was a tear coming down because I actually felt it. And to get yourself in that zone, in that environment is really hard.
It is.
Well, because being in a studio, there's something very self-conscious about it. There's so much you have to be on point. You can't make extra noise. You got to make sure you don't knock the eggshells down. You have to be in the right spot. And then, as you said, to kind of forget all of that. It's like being an actor, I imagine. You're in front of the camera. You have to forget there are 100 people behind it, and you have to pretend you're in that moment. But like once I think and that's it really is, I feel like anybody who ever goes into a studio, they should give people 2 days of just free figuring the shit out time. You know what I mean? Like, okay, before you lay anything down, let us explain to you how this actually works and all the stuff you have to figure out, and then come back and do what you want to do, because it's almost always the last song that people will put together the first time they record where they're like, that's the one where it actually worked. It's like, because by then you're like, aha, now I get it. Now I get it.
That was the aha moment for me. Yeah, that last song.
But so great. So now you're going into the studio within the week with that. You're starting there now, which is from experience, I'll say it'll go a lot faster now that what it's like,
And doing one less song so that we can actually spend a bit more time on the ones that we're doing.
That's smart. Yeah, 3 and 2 days to get from nothing to finished you're pushing it at that point. I think,
Well, I'm pretty happy. Yeah.
Oh no. There's nothing. It wasn't like, oh geez, you blew it, but it's like you did get a little bit lucky there that there was that much that you pulled off at the clutch there. But so. Okay, so I mean, so we talked about the song specifically a little bit, the different vibes and everything, and because you guys are making music that is so disparate from itself, I wanted to ask a little bit more. I have more of a sense for Jules what the answer to this is, and it's a pretty broad list, but musical influences. Al, what are you turned on by? What have what do you, because obviously you talked about Nirvana, all of that, early 90s kind of vibe, but I'm sure that wasn't the first music you ever listened to. So where do you pull from when you're coming up with your instrumentation for these songs?
So I don't really have it's just coming out of us at the moment. My first love was AC/DC and Guns N' Roses and that kind of thing, and then Nirvana happened, and that's where I think it's more about energy and enthusiasm.
Yes,
I suppose with that, and that's more me, I suppose. But I really like loud and I like fun.
Okay.
So I don't need to be technically perfect or anything like that. I'm not going to listen to the most intricate metal. I don't mind it, but it's not where I go. I like just, I suppose, those moments where you just jump up and down and scream or whatever. But I also listen to quite a lot of Neil Young. a mate had brought over this Neil Young tape when we were teenagers and put it on, and we kind of laughed at it at first, like, what the hell,
It is very earnest if you're not. Yeah.
We got Neil Young singing "Love Is a Rose," but it just got us. We used to sit around the campfire and be just, jamming to Neil Young. So
Yeah.
being acoustic, what we're doing now,
Right.
predominantly, which you don't get from the songs on Spotify, but that's sort of where our the nucleus of what we're doing is at the moment. We do everything acoustic and then make it bigger.
Yeah.
That's probably the Neil Young folk.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, a bit of Springsteen for storytelling.
Okay.
Maybe there's that little bit of country.
And I'm simplifying things a lot now. So rather than trying to do, like, how can I do as much guitar in this as possible to make everything, I'm really enjoying giving everything space.
Yeah.
So the balls can explore, so that the drums can do their thing, and bass when we've got it. I'd much rather listen to a bass line wandering around for a lot of the time. Guitar in its place. I'm just happy, like, being in the song, I suppose, rather than trying to be all of the song.
I hear that, and it's funny because I almost feel like other, like, lead guitarists are going to come and hear this and take both your guitar and your penis away, because you're supposed to have, like, this, if I'm not playing as a guitarist, I will literally die and my dick will fall off kind of mentality. Like, there's so many people who just think they have to find every single note. And one of the things that I made a mental note of when I was listening to your Spotify stuff was how in balance and proportion you all are to each other. The song isn't just about any one of you. Obviously vocals kind of get the lion's share of attention, right? Because that's, if somebody's singing, then you're listening to the lyrics, you're listening to the singing, the melody line, all of that. But I mean, like, on a Here and Now, you could have gone with some overly done, overly complex guitar solo, and I just remember thinking,
I think I can strip that one back.
But when that came, though, it's very mellow, and I think that anything other than that would have felt like a sore thumb in the song, like, because the song is just so kind of like, you're in it, you have the vibe, whatever. And if it was like, it was like, what the fuck is going on now? Like, shut up, Al. So, and again, I mean, even with the percussion, everything is very balanced, and that I like that, because some songs you listen and you like, clearly the instrumentation is kind of an afterthought because the singer is like, this is about me and my lyrics, what I'm doing. Sometimes it's like, okay, we got the lyrics and the vocals and the melody line in here, but really we're waiting for the guitar solo. Or like somebody's going to come in here and do a huge drum breakdown at the end, but like everything else around it is kind of, So I like that you guys, you're all, you're really working together, and it makes the songs very accessible to me. I think they are very easy to listen to.
Christina. Yeah, because I think that's when we go into the rehearsal space and we're working on an original song, my motto is, I don't care what the idea is, but we're going to try it. So it's not like I'm taking the lead and this is how we're going to do it. It's like, what do you think here? What do you think there?
Yeah.
And if Braeden has an idea, it's like we're always trying it. That is one thing that we always do is if someone comes to us with an idea, let's execute it and try it on, just like trying on clothes, see what the fit is like.
Right. Why not? Right. Like, what's the harm in doing that? You might, and even if you don't use that, it might give you an idea to do something else. But then
I was going to say, a lot of little ideas come out of doing that. Like, well, we're not going to do exactly what we just did, but that little bit. Yeah. All right, let's put that into the song. And
it's an enjoyable process then too.
This last riff. Dun, 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 in that new song that we're doing, like we sat there for a good hour. Where can we put this? We want to use it. We want to use it.
Okay.
After nearly giving up, we found a spot for it, and it really works now. So
no, it's cool. And it makes you pay more attention to what you're doing, and it makes what you do more intentional when you're doing that kind of thing. It's like, all right, well, if you sit down and you go, okay, this is how it's going to be, great. But then there's nothing iterative about that. It's kind of like cut, print, done. You're recording what you have in your head, and that's it. And you don't have any surprises in that, which can be good, but it can also be limiting. So I like that you guys are, down for it.
But
Hey, yeah, no, but I just see what I did there. Yeah, but I do like that. So, okay, so the influences thing. Now I'll take that over to you, Braeden. What's your? And again, I don't mean like necessarily for what you guys are doing for Jules and the Heist, but I just mean in general because everything we love is kind of baked into our DNA musically anyway, and subconsciously even it'll come out. But what turns you on?
None of my influences sort of come out. Like my biggest Slipknot is one of my favorite bands, and then Dave Matthews Band.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you just say Slipknot and then Dave Matthews Band?
Yeah.
Okay, I like you even more than I did before because it was kind of like, yes, I enjoy eating chocolate and also nails. And it was like, wait, what? But okay, all right. So Slipknot, Dave Matthews Band. Keep going. I want to know what the third member of that list is.
Yeah, that was the Cat Empire, Australian band. You know,
I'll have to check them out if you don't know them.
It's fusion. Yeah.
Okay. No, I don't know.
But then, you know, I love dance, like the presets. You know, I love dance music as well. Like metal is I love heavy metal, but then I can sit there, I can go watch an acoustic show. I can go to a blues show. I can go to a jazz. I can go watch someone go stuff around a piano, you know, and I'm like, oh, that's what jazz is, right? So,
okay.
And that's why I love him. He's so versatile and so open-minded.
Yeah.
Well, and that helps with what we were just talking about too, right? Because if you can sit there and listen to Slipknot and Dave Matthews and dance music and jazz and whatever, you're willing to try anything at that point because you literally, you're so like genre promiscuous then that, you know, it's like, yeah, sure. Why not? We'll try whatever on. So, okay. I think I love that Slipknot and Dave Matthews ended up in the same sentence. I absolutely do. I absolutely do. Okay.
That's not any order. That's just, you know.
No, I didn't think so, but I just love that they're both in there because to me that makes you very interesting, you know, because there are people who are Slipknot people, and if they saw a Dave Matthews fan, they just run over them with their Jeep or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and then there are the other people who are like, ew, Slipknot. I love Dave Matthews. Like, whatever. But you like both of them, so that to me that makes you even more interesting inherently because it's like,
the drummers in those bands, and even we went and watched a mate of ours the other night. These guys grew up with Russ from 12 Foot Ninja. We went and watched him play, and he's such an inspirational drummer to me. And he's local. He's up the road. You know, I don't know the bloke that well, but these guys do. And and he was an inspiration before I even knew. And then Julie's like, "Oh, Russ is like our friend." I'm like, "What?"
That's cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, but I like
All right, I love it. I love it all over the place. All right, Jules, I know a decent amount of your list, but why don't you share with the folks at home some of what, you know, the many strong ladies and other musicians that have turned you on over the years?
Oh, my goodness. All right. So I love Aretha Franklin, Eva Cassidy, Fleetwood Mac, Janis Joplin, Melissa Etheridge. I love a good rock chick. I wish I had a raspier voice, like probably about 3 o'clock in the morning after a few cigarettes. I can sing that kind of stuff. But yeah, heavier stuff, light stuff. I mean, as I said, we watched the lead singer of the Tea Party, Jeff Martin, with our friend Russ, and we just loved it, that Mediterranean, that alternative sort of style of stuff. Look, and I've got that many influences. We could be here for about 3 hours.
I know.
Collection of music. But ultimately, I do definitely listen to the lyrical content. So I don't mind really heavy music as long as the actual, not so much the screaming lyrics, but anything melodical where I can dive into where they were when they were singing it. It's just got to have a emotive pull for me.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that. That was one of the most interesting sort of inflection points with getting into this show and everything else is that, you know, again, I think when you're a singer and you're a songwriter, lyrics and melody that's what's going to grab you at the beginning. I say that all the time. And, you know, when I first started, you know, getting into the community and then prepping for the show, you know, the lyrical melody is not necessarily the first thing that springs to mind with like a death pigeon or a shovel monster or, you know what I mean? But like it's once you have the right frame for what it is, then you appreciate it so much more. Like, you know, but so I understand what you mean about like, I that's your hook into the thing, right? So, I mean, you rattled off a bunch of musicians that I love too. I mean, I think that, you know, that's a pretty popular list for good reason, right? Especially among female singers. But I mean, it's putting those together with the three of you, though, that's a nice cross section, right? Because I mean, you've got AC/DC, Nirvana, Neil Young, you know, and then you've got Slipknot and the Dave Matthews Band, and then Dan's music. And then we've got sort of these, you know, pop, rock, you know, just belter kind of, you know, or Aretha, you know, R&B, soul, whatever, like. And that makes sense to me, given who you are as a band, you know? So very cool. I'm always interested in that because sometimes the music that a band will make and the music that the band is interested in are very similar. And sometimes they're completely different. And I was kind of wondering with you guys how that was going to go because all of your songs are different from each other. So you can't really, there was no way to nail it on the head, you know, like no matter what you said, you might've been right. So, okay. So I know you guys have a gig tonight and we've got to make sure that we get you out the door for that. So, again, like, you know, we've talked about, Spotify, we have new stuff coming. You didn't end up, I don't think, giving me a date for when the next thing might come out, but you're recording it soon. So hopefully within the next couple of months, we'll get this new one that we've been teased on, you know, and then we'll have to go.
October, November.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you said October?
You're making promises we can't
Yes,
keep.
Julie, we'll say.
We're not doing that again,
Before
remember?
the end of the year.
Even that is...
It will be coming out on a day that ends in Y.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is a guarantee, and that's all you're giving anybody. So okay.
When it's ready. When it's ready.
Yeah.
There you go. It'll be ready when it is. So okay. Yeah. And again, I mean, I don't know that you guys have seen the show, but we do like to end every single episode on a little segment that we call In the Vox Seat. So I'm going to ask you guys the same 5 questions that I have asked every single band and musician that has been on this show. Okay. And I will tell you that some of these have become a Thunderdome death level cage match type, you know, investment of emotional currency. And, you know, the last question especially will either gain or lose you followers in this chat here. We're not fucking around. Vox and Guest did not come to play. Yeah, no. So, you know, you have 3 of you. So technically you could answer both ways and then, you know, get away with it. But so here we go. So the very first question is, and it'll be interesting to see how you do this given what we've been talking about in terms of genre hopping. But if each of you had to describe in 5 words or less Jules and the Heist's music, what would you say?
Why are you looking at me? What am I going
So you each get 5 words. It doesn't have to be a sentence. It can be 5 words or less, but just each of you, what would your descriptors be?
Well, people have asked me this recently, and I say, I don't know. I give them a card and say, listen to Spotify.
Oh, you sneaky bastard. Sneaky bastard. Okay, so find out yourself on Spotify. Those are your 5 words? Okay, all right.
If you get 7 words, you'd write, you dickhead.
Mine is just multifaceted music, female-fronted, Australian.
That's not 5 words. That's like 8 words.
No. They're hyphenated. Multifaceted, female-fronted, Australian. Okay. What else? Yeah. You got 2 other words, Jules. You don't want to use them? What is it? Roots.
It's not blues and it's not folk. It's kind of in between the both. So roots.
Yeah, roots. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna go with 4 words for Jules. All right, Al. This is it.
Come on.
So I'd say unintentional, fun, undefined. Just get into it.
Okay. I'll hyphenate that last one for you. That's fine.
Yeah,
we'll do that. Okay. All right. I like it. Okay.
Just get into it.
Just get into it. Yeah. No spaces. That's it. Okay. So, all right. What is for each of you your favorite thing about being a musician?
Enjoyment. Giving people enjoyment. Yeah. That's what.
Okay.
Like I said before, you know, you can have 1 out of 100 people that come up, they love that song. I'm like, yeah, that does it for me. That's it. I love making people happy and seeing people happy while we're playing, and then you know, you get feedback afterwards from people, and yeah, that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
One word: connection. So with the guys that I'm playing with, and also the fans and friends and family that come, connection.
I'd say therapeutic.
Oh yes,
okay.
and therapy. Yes,
it's like it's like meditating and releasing, and for the 3 hours that we play, or whenever I pick up my guitar at home, or when we're practicing or whatever, you can kind of just relax and turn your brain off from the outside world. Obviously, think about what you're doing, and just sort of be. So I feel quite relaxing.
Yeah.
I love that for each of you, in different ways, the fundamental answer was all emotional.
Absolutely.
That's very cool.
It's the vibe.
It's the vibe.
It's Marbo. It's an Australian gag.
Okay, there you go. All right. So the flip side of that is, for each of you, what is your least favorite thing about being a musician? You can't even complain about lugging your gear around, Braeden, because
I can go first on this one while he thinks about it.
Okay.
I get frustrated at my mother.
Me too. Me too.
I
Real.
wanted to learn the guitar, and she said that. And so I get frustrated because I've got ideas, I can hear things, and I struggle to get them out sometimes because I don't quite have the knowledge yet. And at 40, I probably won't ever have it. But that's like, you're trying to express something. I'm just like, fuck, I can't get this out.
Yeah.
Well, I think given what you guys have said about each other and the amount of growth that you've seen in each other and in yourselves over just 7-8 short months, don't tell yourself it's not going to happen if it hasn't happened by now, because you had your mother's imposed hiatus for all those years. Yeah, the 12 years is a long time to lose, but you also were away from music after that for a long time. So give yourself some grace there that, now that you're really working those muscles, you'll be surprised. I mean, you mentioned gig fitness earlier, and it's the same kind of thing, musical fitness, right? So you just, if you hadn't exercised in 20 years and then somebody asked you to do a triathlon, you wouldn't be like, well, that's it, I'm never going to do it. You might be like, give me a couple years and I'll get there. So just give yourself time. You guys are making so much music now. I think you'll be surprised how quickly you pick up on what you want to. So, okay. So that was least favorite thing for Al. Who's next?
Might be just trying to balance life. My kids, my family, work, and just trying to fit in jam sessions in between.
Those are all dead ends, man. Yeah. Stick with the music.
It's just trying to do that, especially these. It's just so hard trying to live these days and trying to
money,
trying to keep your passion alive. It's the hardest thing. Just trying to a work-life music balance it is hard, man.
That is a very popular answer to this question on this show. I think we all struggle with that, because no matter what you're doing, you're not doing something that you love, no matter what it is. So that's a very difficult thing to balance. You're right. So, okay. All right, Jules, what about you?
I'm going to second all of those things. It's just time and money and frustration, and just wishing I had have done things a little bit sooner, but then also just trying to be patient with myself, I guess. I sort of I set the bar pretty high, and I go pretty hard, and I just
and all of a sudden we've got 3 songs on Spotify. We're all going, what the fuck?
What did you do, Julie? Yeah.
I think we kind of have expectations, but we don't.
It's that flip side. For me, it's a pendulum. I'm constantly, yes, let's do it. Oh no, we can't do it. So it's just it's balance. It's frustrating.
Okay.
It's very frustrating.
Okay. Yeah. No. It's And then especially once there's something you want to do, if you can't do it right away, that's very frustrating too. Yeah. That's the ADHD brain. I'm very familiar with that one. So okay. So then the next question is usually the one that people hate me for the most, and it is, if you could only pick one album to listen to for the rest of your life, just one, which album would you choose and why?
Neil Young Harvest.
Whoa! Out of the gate. Okay. Is that the one that you listened to when your friend brought it over? No, different one.
No, he had a mixtape and he put Love Is a Rose on, which I don't even know where that's from. From the Turnstiles, I think.
Yeah. Harvest is that is a particularly good. Yeah. Okay. Talk to me about why.
I mean, it's there's so many albums, could have picked, but that one is, I suppose this is a really fucking bad answer. It's like food for the soul. It just it makes me feel good. It makes me think. It takes me back to certain times in my life that I have fond and not fond memories. So yeah, I mean, I could have picked 12, but that one, I reckon, after the 100th listen, I could still go, yeah, I love that.
Okay. Hey, Al, that's not a bad answer at all. Your reasoning for it, I think I'm honing in on the fact that you're a little hard on yourself and maybe don't need to be.
I'm not.
Oh fuck! I outed you, but no, I mean, but look, what are you telling me right now? You're telling me that you have an album that, after listening to it dozens and dozens of times, still makes you feel things that make you feel alive, whether they're good or bad, and remind you of your life. That's not a bad answer. That's a very good answer. So
pretty fucking good, isn't it?
Pretty rational.
Yeah.
There you go. Now he's bragging. I turned him around.
I'm out now.
He'll take it.
That's it. There he goes. He's bending over because he's patting himself on the back so hard. So, all right. I saw Braeden just Jeopardy level, like a beautiful mind kind of figuring this out while Al was talking. So, who has arrived at their answer among the two of you now?
I don't really have an answer, but the one that did come to my mind straight away was the Dave Matthews Live at New York.
Okay.
Yep, recorded album. That's one. That was just constantly cranked in my car when I first got my license. Coming from school life into adult life, the real world. Yeah, and
they were very on point in that one. They really were.
Stands out to me. Like I said, I love. There's so many good CDs. It'd be hard, but if I only had one choice, I'd probably take that one with me. So.
Okay, I like that. All right, Jules, here we go.
This is hard. I couldn't pick. I was going to actually go on the old Melissa Etheridge album that I used to sing to, Your Little Secret, and it sort of got It's just one of those CDs. I never get bored listening to it. It's not so invasive. It's just, it used to be my house cleaning CD of all things, but it's just one that I can put on. And again, I think she had quite a large influence of different styles. So it can be ballsy and really rocky. Yeah. That can be really delicate and reflective as well. It's either that or Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette. Again, it sort of brings me back to a particular time. And I like that it wasn't polished and the vocals were really rough. And again, it wasn't sort of too refined.
You may encourage people to give that album a listen because nobody else likes it but you. It wasn't super popular. I remember being in my childhood room and listening to that and just like, I think Alanis was a gateway for a lot of us. And actually one of my favorite tracks on that whole thing is the hidden track at the very end, which half the people who've heard that album don't even know exists, but it's a great a cappella. I love that one. Okay, but Melissa too. Melissa, I get it too, because you want to talk about emotional vocals. No matter what the emotion is, it is just balls to the wall with her. She's pretty spectacular. Okay, so see, you guys made it through. You did it, but this is it now. We are at the last question. This is the divisive, highly political, charged, emotional, question. The last one. I know we started off very intense. We're ending on the same note. So we've got Dom from Jam Steak in one corner, clutching his blankie, and we've got Freaky Things in the other, clutching Dom's blankie. I don't know what he's clutching. I don't know, Freaky, what are you clutching? Here we go. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Your toilet paper roll. Does the toilet paper come from over the top, or do you pull the toilet paper out from under the bottom, and why?
Definitely over. I'm going first here. I'm just always an over girl.
Okay. Easier. Okay. Jules says over because it's easier. Al, Braeden, who's committing next? All right, there you go, Freaky. That's one.
I'd say over, over. But then, it's always changed in my household.
You can't sit on the fence with this one. I'm the biggest fence sitter ever, but it's one or the other.
Over. We'll go over.
Okay, all right. So now look at this. The person who started the band is bullying people into the over camp. But what I gather though is that Braeden, it's not really up to you. It's just whoever puts the role on wherever. If it's on the holder, you're probably happy at this point. If you have kids,
Well, having children that knock the toilet roll off, you know, and then you go and you're like, so you just put it back on. Oh, I didn't take it off because I put it under and put it back over. No, I'm not going to do that.
No.
I just put it on. As long as it's functional, who cares?
So you don't have a strong, deeply held conviction about it. But when you were living alone, was it over?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There we go. Then that's your identification. Al, this is it. Last answer to the last question of the interview. It's all the success or failure of this episode is resting entirely on your shoulders. No pressure, but don't fuck up. What is your answer?
Come on.
I don't have time for this shit. I could not care less whether it's over or under. I don't care if it's on the floor and I have to pick it up and unroll it like that and put it back down. It's just it doesn't matter to me.
Really?
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Oh, wow.
I lived with a girl a little while ago and she was an over.
Okay.
And so when she pissed me off, I would turn the toilet paper around. And I don't think that something as insignificant as toilet paper should be able to be so divisive in your life.
You would think that, and according to the people watching right now, you would be deadly wrong. This is a so all right. So I think Freaky, you got 2. Dom, you did not get a clear under. We have a non-committal with Al, but we have generally now. You guys know you might not have, but as a band, you are a 2/3 over toilet paper band, and Al will this
is why we get along, really. Ultimately.
That's it. I mean, really, what more defines the success of a band than their position on the toilet paper orientation? Really, I mean, it's since music began, this has been the linchpin issue. So,
the bigger issue to me is not how the toilet paper comes off the roll; it's what you do with it in between taking it off the roll and wiping your bottom. Are you a scruncher or a folder? That is a bigger question.
Okay. You know what, Al? That begs the question. Are you a scruncher or a folder?
I am a scruncher. I need a ball.
You're a scruncher. Okay. You want like a whole loofah experience.
I don't understand how you can have 4 flat sheets and do the job that needs to be done in that crevice.
Okay. In that crevice. I think we have the name of the EP. In that crevice. Yeah. I think that's it.
Put your toilet paper ball in my crevice.
You know, I think we're done here. I don't think it's going to get better or worse than that. I feel like if we're going to stop anywhere, that is the stop sign, end all stop signs. Holy shit, no pun intended, but okay. Jules, Al, Braeden, you guys have been great. I wish the best success for you guys. Anybody that is not familiar with them, go love them up on social media, please. You will, no matter what kind of music you like, you'll find it there because they do everything. They are the Swiss Army knife of bands right now. And you know, enjoy that studio time. I'm going to be very interested to hear what comes out of it when you finally agree to all put it on Spotify. So thank you guys so much for being on the show.
Thanks for what you do for indie bands too. It's really appreciated.
Yeah. Oh, you're very well. Thank you for saying. Thank you. All right, guys, that's it. That's another Vox and Guest in the books. We will see you next time. Bye.
See ya.
Okay.